Are you a big fan of chess? Do you like the strategic plays and the moving of pieces and the threatening of the opposing king? Are you somebody who loves all those things but thinks that chess just needs to be a little more random? Well, if that's the case, I have the perfect game for you because today we're going to be reviewing the Duke. The Duke is pretty simple. It's kind of like chess with a little bit of randomness thrown in, and I think that makes a great combination. So the thing that makes this game different is instead of having all of your pieces on the board ahead of time and knowing what they all do and when you can use any of them whenever you want, you're going to have all of your pieces in a bag. And every turn, you're going to draw from the bag to know which piece you get to play next, which is a really cool element to this game. In addition, each piece has two different sides, which you'll kind of have to familiarize yourself with because every time you move them, they're going to flip over and it's going to have different abilities and movement options. Familiarizing yourself with the various symbols on the tile is always the best way to go, but you have this great movement reference guide which kind of explains how all of the movements work and all the rules surrounding them, any exceptions, anything like that. So until you familiarize yourself with the tiles themselves, it's really easy to just kind of look at the reference guide for it. The object of the game is to capture the opponent's duke, just like you would in chess with the king. And you do that by, like I was saying, using the different pieces. They all have different abilities. And you have to set up that kind of like almost checkmate scenario. And when you're playing on the board, there's a lot of different scenarios that you can do, and just kind of knowing your pieces and being able to react on the fly, that's really the biggest thing with this game. So, another complication that you run into with this game is whenever you move a piece, so this one has the movement thing, so you can move straight to that piece, so you move it to the side, you have to turn it over, which then has other spaces or other types of movement that it can do. So you have to get used to the fact that each one can be used in different ways. Some of the moves you can perform are really simple, like this one has where you can move to any of the adjacent spaces here with a regular movement, and it also has the jump ability, so you can actually ignore. It's like if there's an enemy piece here, so if you have it on the board here, there's an enemy piece here, you can actually jump that enemy piece and go there. If you look at the other side, it has 4 diagonal slides. So that means you're just able to kind of slide it. This is kind of like a bishop, so it's a priest, but it's basically a bishop. So it can slide in the diagonal direction as far as you want. There's other ones that have stuff that's like a combination of things. So like this one can move, and then it can slide forward. On the other side, it has some jump ones where you can jump there. It's kind of like a horse, so it's a light horse. So he has like a knight in chess, but it also has the strike ability, which means if an enemy is there, you can just strike it and take it out without even moving your piece. Something like this has actually kind of an interesting ability. It's called a command ability. So if there's a friendly piece in this spot, you can actually move it from this spot to this spot, or vice versa. So any piece that's in a command space, you can have this piece move it. This piece doesn't move, but it still flips over. So in this scenario, say you are here, the adjacent piece would be in the command space. So you can then, on your turn, instead of moving this one, move this piece, and then flip this one over. This would, if there was an enemy here, you would capture that enemy. Last thing I want to go over before I do my final thoughts is if you wanted to spice up the theme of the game, you can actually use these specialty pieces, which are Arthurian pieces. So you can see like this one is Camelot, and there's Arthur, there's all like the knights and stuff. You even have your bad guys here. You got Mordred and Morgana. And there's Lancelot. They all have a lot of fancy combinations of abilities, so they're really powerful pieces. And that can kind of just look at how many spots that can go to. That's really cool. So you can kind of I kind of like that. It's like a sword, and then on this side it's Camelot, it's the fort. So you can use these pieces if you kind of want to spice up the theme and like the kind of difficulty of the game it definitely adds a little bit extra to it. Now that you know how to play the Duke, I'm going to meet you back up top, and I'm going to give you my final thoughts on the game. I like the Duke. I like it from a strategic standpoint. I like it from the fact that you kind of have to know the pieces and plan out a strategy and kind of react on the fly. I think that's the big thing that separates it like something like chess. That's always the thing I compare it to, because you do have set pieces and kind of a kings and queens kind of theme that have set movements that you have to move around the board and box in your opponents and take out their pieces. So it's very much like chess, but the fact that when you move the pieces, they flip over and you have to react to both sides of them and plan out your strategy based on what side does what and which side it'll be on when it gets to the position you want it to be in. That's really interesting. And also the fact that you don't know which pieces you're going to be playing with at a given moment. Because you're pulling them out of the bag, you kind of have to develop that strategy on the fly. And I really like that. Because of the random element to it, regardless of whether you feel like you're good at chess or anything like that, or you're the person you're playing with is good at it, I feel like this game has a lot of replayability because of that random element. I feel like if you're playing chess with somebody, there's a lot of replayability if the people who are playing are good at chess, because they're going to try out different strategies. There's going to be a lot of things that they can do. But for the casual person who just knows how to play chess, I feel like if you're playing with the same person over and over again, it can get boring sometimes. But with this, it has that randomness added to it. And that's something that I really appreciate from this game. It also has the extra added theme. If you want to go the Arthurian legend theme, it has those really powerful pieces that you can play with and add to the game if you want to kind of go down that route. It's one of those games that's quick to teach to somebody, but it's going to take a while to master it, it's one of those games that has a high ceiling, a good skill curve. And I like that because it's something that you can really delve into and really play over and over again until you get good at it. I feel like there's a lot of games where you play a tabletop game and there's an optimal strategy that you eventually stumble across. Any game kind of has it, especially Euro style games, but there's like, if you play Lords of Waterdeep a lot, that's a game that I've played a lot. There's certain strategies that work in that game that if you just kind of follow those strategies and your opponent doesn't, you're probably going to win the game. Same thing with like a Star Realms or like any other kind of deck builder or area control games. There's certain strategies that work really well. I feel like something like the Duke, you're eventually going to develop strategies, but you can never completely count on those strategies because of that random element and because of the fact that you have to react to your opponent. So that's something that makes the game almost infinitely replayable in my opinion. If you like what you saw here today, definitely hit that like button. Make sure that it's blue. Subscribe to the channel. Hit that notification bell so you know when the new videos are coming out. And leave a comment down below. Have you ever played the Duke? Do you like chess? I'll take any comments you want to leave down below and we'll get a discussion going. And I'll catch you in the next game review, guys.